All right, in this lesson, we are going to take a look at our layout a little further and then kind of finalizing the details on that layout and doing a sort of count balance, so to speak, of our room dimensions. So what I'm going to do is I came back to this NKBA virtual planning tool, and I'm going to actually open up a pre-designed room. But you could do this with one of your saved designs, so you would actually want to do this with your kitchen. But just to show you what this is like, I'm going to pick out one that's been completely designed, and I'm going to use these pre-designed options over here. And I'll just pick a frame cabinet just as an example, but the process is going to be absolutely identical. This one, let's pick this Kensington down here. Oh, there's actually more down here than this. Yeah, let's do this Kensington. No real reason, just to work an example here. All right, so I'm going to give this a minute to load. And what you want to get in the habit of doing is, and when you're looking at catalogs or Pinterest or home and kitchen magazines, and when you start looking at kitchens, is kind of dissecting them. So just by looking at this real quick, we can see, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. See some of these doors aren't rendering properly, but white cabinets, obviously it's a frame design because we selected the frame category. And we can see these doors are actually full overlay. They don't appear to be inset into the frame, and the only reason I can tell is because there's a pretty good shadow line around them there. All right, so what I want to do here is let's show you this room looks like. I'm actually going to switch to a 2D view, but just so we can see what I'm talking about, is we're going to do a measurement of this wall here. From this corner out to here, and this is something you're going to want to do. It'll be easier to do in a 2D view, so let's do it from there. All right, I'm going to zoom in a bit. All right, okay, so in this particular example, we have cabinets that are on an L-shaped kitchen. Okay, they run across this 17-foot 10-inch wall, and they run down this 21-foot 9-inch wall. And there's a bunch of cabinets in the uppers and lowers and all that stuff. But what we want to start with is this measurement, this wall measurement here. So what we're going to do is, in your kitchen, you're already going to know, because if you already did your layout, you planned where you're going to have cabinets and all that stuff, you're going to start with this measurement. So how long the wall is before you hit any sort of obstacle, and in this case that would be a window, door trim, anything like that. So if I just move down here, you can see that this wall eventually runs into this door or a window, whatever that thing is, and this bank of cabinets starts from this corner and goes all the way to the end of this wall. All right, so let's do, wrong way. So to make this process easier, and so you kind of understand what we're doing here, is we want to make sure when we've designed our layout that we've planned accordingly to the length of the wall. And this is just kind of a further step in our process. So what I'm going to do is, we'll start with this wall so you kind of get the idea. 21 feet 9 inches. So I'm going to open up this document. You have access to this document with the course material. This is a cabinet width tracker. And so what we're going to do is we have, in this particular example, we have walls on two cabinets, wall 1, and down here we have wall 2. And then we have the lower or the base cabinets, and then we have the upper cabinets. And all we really need to know is what's going and where, or just really, and actually the order that you do these isn't critical, but we'll keep it in order that they're installed just to be consistent so it doesn't confuse us. But and then the widths. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that the total widths of our cabinets don't exceed the total width of our wall, which we're going to enter up here. And so this calculator will figure that out for us. And so this will do two things for you. It will tell you if your wall, if there's a gap between the cabinets when you're done, if there's a couple inches and you didn't account for that, or it'll also tell you if your cabinets are too long and you know what you planned out is not what you need. Okay, so like we said, this would be 21 feet 9 inches. Let's put that here for wall 1. So 21 feet 9 inches, 21 feet 9 inches, and I'm actually going to do all of this in inches. So this is actually going to be, I'll add this conversion in here for you, but I'm actually going to put 21 feet, that's times, multiply that by 12 feet, and I'm going to add 9 inches to that. All right, so that's going to be, so what I can do actually, I can probably put a foot column here and an inches column here. So you'll see that, but for now, all you need to know is it's 261 inches. Okay, that's 21 feet times 12 inches in a foot plus 9 inches gives us 261 inches on that total wall. So as we add our cabinets, we'll figure out how much total cabinet length we've added, and then how much we have left over. And in this first wall, we're really trying to avoid this window here, and they did that here. They're not even coming close to that. So that this is really just you may not even have to do it in this particular wall if you didn't want to, but you certainly could. So we're going to start by clicking this bottom cabinet, and we can see over here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see this. This is a corner cabinet, and if I click on it, I see 36. All right, so that means just general rule of thumb, we know that the countertops can be 25 inches, but the cabinets themselves, we discussed this is a standard depth base cabinet, and from the wall out is going to be about 24 inches. So that the fact that this is 36 inches from the wall all the way to the next cabinet means that this space in here is 36 minus this 24, which is just 12 inches. So from here, from this corner out down to here, and from this corner over to here, you've got 12 inches in either direction. So it's 12 here and 12 here. But either way, from the wall down to the next cabinet, it's 36 inches. And up there, we can see it's actually 36 inches from this corner all the way over to here. Okay, so for this first measurement, let's put in base cabinet number 1 is going to be a corner cabinet. Or you can actually just call it corner or court, whatever you want to call it. And the width, we said, is going to be 36. And this is going to be in inches. Because we can see that the total cabinet so far we've added is 36, and we have, out of 261, we have another 225 inches to go before we hit that wall. All right, I hope this start to make sense for you. So now we're going to click the next cabinet on this wall, and it's a 30-inch cabinet. All right, and we can figure out what that is by looking at our 3D, or actually our 2D. Let's do front 2D, see what that looks like. All right, we want to look at the other wall. Wow, look at that. All right, so I can zoom in here a little bit. So now we're looking at only that one wall, and it's kind of hidden here because of this, there's an island, but we can see that this is a base cabinet, and it looks like it has, I'm going to say 2 doors and 2 drawers. But ultimately, the width is the issue here. So we'll call this base cabinet. Or we'll call it, just call it base cabinet. And it's going to be 30 inches. I'm going to go back to here, and there's another cabinet here. That's another base cabinet that's 30 inches. All right, so you can see it's 30 down here, and I'm selected it over here. We could also view in the 2D, and I'll probably switch to 2D, top 2D, just to see what that looks like. And we can see it's right there, and then we have another one after this. If we really wanted to see what kind it was, but let's just say for now it's a 30-inch cabinet. So we'll go back to our Excel sheet, and we'll say another base cabinet. Actually, it's pre-type base cabinet. We'll put in another 30 inches. And that last cabinet on the base here is another 30-inch cabinet. And let's see what that looks like on, we'll do a front 3D. Okay, so we can see actually just by, you could do it this way too, doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get the best view of this room here. Obviously, this would be easier if this island wasn't in the way, but what are you going to do? So let's zoom in here. Oh, zoom in here a bit. And you can see, yeah, these are just 3 banks, 3 sections of just regular base cabinets with 2 doors and 2 drawers. So we'll just call them, go back to our Excel sheet and do base cabinet again, and another 30 inches. All right, so that's, if you look at this design and this layout, that's it for this section of wall. And we still have a good gap here between the end of this cabinet and that door, and also wherever the wall is that's 21 feet later, that's where that wall is. All right, so we're going to repeat this process for the top, and let's go ahead and do top 2D. And they look like all double-sided cabinets up top. If you want to, let's just see what that looks like just before we know what we're getting into here. I'm going to orbit right a little bit. We'll zoom in. And you can see these uppers. Looks like a corner cabinet. Yeah, there's a corner cabinet there. And then you have a single cabinet, a double cabinet, a double cabinet, a double cabinet. All right. Just so we know what we're looking at here. So and they're all glass front, double doors. The height, they look to be about 36 inches just because there's a gap against the ceiling. But let's see. And I could probably actually click room shape over here to see what they actually have. If I wanted to see what the ceiling was. But anyway, let's go back to this view. So anyway, we're going to zoom in here and let's get a little closer. Zoom in again. Zoom in some more. All right, first cabinet's a corner cabinet and it says 24 inches. And I'm going to assume if I scroll up, it's 24 inches this way. So again, we've discussed this, that the upper cabinets are all 12 inches deep. So the fact that it's 12 inches from the wall out here, and then another 12 inches to get you 24. So you're looking at around 12-inch door sections here, or at least this face area is 12 inches in this direction and 12 inches in that direction, because it's 24 here and 24 here, and the standard depth upper is 12 inches. So let's go back to our sheet, and we're going to put in upper cabinets. This will be corner, and the width is going to be 24. All right. Super. All right, next cabinet is going to be this small upper, and this one says, it looks like it's 12. We're going to zoom in. Yeah, that looks like a 12 to me. All right, so we're going to go back to here, and that makes sense because it's about the same width as that, and this one's 24 and it's twice. So let's go back to here, and we'll say upper number 2, whatever you want to call it, and this is 12. All right, so we're going to repeat this process, and just to save time, we're gonna say we have a 24. Sorry, this is a 30, a 30, and a 30. All right, so 3 30 cabinets. So we'll go back to our Excel spreadsheet, and we'll do upper 3, upper 4, and upper 5, and we'll do 30, 30, 30. All right. Okay. I have to fix that because this is. Daddy's doing work, honey. Mm. Oh. No, it's not G3. It's G3. All right, so we have 30, 30, and 30. 30, 30, 30. Let's go back to our spreadsheet. and I put them in here 30, 30, 30, calling these whatever you want. And I just made a quick correction to one of these cells. So this is, you can see this one wall, you have 126 inches and 135 to go, and then 126 inches and 135 to go. All right, so you kind of get what we're doing here. It's going to be a little harder in this next wall. That's why I wanted to start with this first wall, open wall. Let's go to this second wall here. This will be wall number 2. It is not zooming out. All right, we're going to continue this on this second wall here. And this one's going to be a little more challenging because this is a contained wall. So you have cabinetry from one end to the other. And this is really where this tool will really help you. So we're going to start with, again, the measurement of the total wall, 17 feet, 10 inches. We'll come down to here, and I included a wall 2 option, and I'll add a wall 3, wall 4 for whatever you want to do, but I'll also add this into feet and inches, but for now, we'll just stick with this. So the length is going to be 17 feet, 10 inches, so that's going to be equal to 17 times 12. We'll do plus 10. Okay, that's 214 inches, right? 17 times 12 plus 10 inches. Yep, okay. So we have 214 inches to work with in both the upper and the lower cabinets. So let's start with the lower cabinets again. And we know we just did this corner cabinet before, and it's 36 inches in this direction. So we'll come back in here and we will say corner cabinet, because we're starting at the bases, corner cab, and this is going to be a width of 36 inches. Okay, next cabinet is going to be this one, and this is, oh, it says actually, I'm trying to see what these are. I forgot. You can actually see them up here in the right hand corner. This is a 3-drawer bank base with three drawers, and it is 27 inches. So let's go ahead and put this in. So this is, we'll say this is a 3-drawer, and it's 27 inches. Now again, you can use whatever terminology you want, but this is what I'm doing. All right, now we have our range, 30 inches. Okay, so we'll put a range, 30 inches. Now this range may actually be 29.5 inches or something. So you'd want to look up the width of the range you are going to be buying, or whatever appliance you have, and see what clearance it needs, because ultimately that's what you're going to put in here. And make sure you've identified one. Don't just assume, well, I'm going to put a 24-inch range in. Make sure you've found one that has those dimensions before you assume anything. If you assume the wrong dimensions for your appliances, you're going to be in a pickle. So next cabinet is another 27-inch base, and it's a 3-drawer unit. So we'll do 3-drawer, and it's 27 inches. Okay, so now you can see down here we've got 120 inches so far, and then another 94 to go. All right, this cabinet is another base. The base cabinet is 2 doors and a drawer. We'll put this in as 2-drawer, 1 drawer, rather. Yep, 2 doors, 1 drawer. Again, whatever terminology you want to use is fine. This is 27 inches. All right, 27 inches. All right. Now we have, I believe, a fridge. Yep, a fridge, and that's a 36-inch door fridge. So let's put 36-inch here. We'll put fridge, 36 inches, and we'll come down next to that, and it looks like we have our pantry, and this is 30 inches. All right, let's see how clever these guys were when they designed this. So they call this the pantry cabinet, and this is 30 inches. All right, perfect. Now, when we look at this, what do we see? We see we have a 214-inch wall, and we have 213 inches of cabinets with 1 inch to spare. So what do we do with that inch? Well, you have a couple options. Because you're building yours from scratch, you could say make this pantry 31 inches. You can't change the appliance dimensions, but you could actually give yourself an extra inch for this fridge if you wanted to, and have a little space around your fridges, maybe an extra ½ inch on each side. You could make this 27-inch cabinet base a 28-inch model, or you can just find some place to stick a 1-inch filler strip. So that is the value of doing this exercise, is we have determined not just from a layout. So the first thing was to do was we did the layout. We figured out kind of where we want the sink and the fridge and the oven and all that stuff. And do we want, how big are the uppers and the lowers? Not necessarily door styles or drawers or any of that stuff, but just principally what size cabinets and where are they going. And then we came back to here and did this. And we can also repeat this again for the uppers, but just looking at this, okay, let's do it again for the uppers just to see what that's gonna be like. 24 inches for this first corner cabinet. We'll call this corner 24 inches. And then we have an 18-inch, it's a 12-inch wall unit. So we'll call this this is going to be a 12-inch, and this is going to be just I don't know, wall unit, whatever. Doesn't matter. This one, okay, so I'm looking at these numbers. These are actually, I think, the cabinet numbers. So you see 18 here and 19 here, and then you see the dimensions up here. So these aren't the dimensions, and that kind of can trip you up. It's been tripping me up, but you want to click on it and then actually look at the width of the actual cabinet. So this is a 24-inch glass. So we'll put this one in. This is 24. We'll say this is a glass, 2D, two doors, whatever. Next one is a range hood. It's a chimney hood, 36 inches. So we'll put that in here. We'll call that a hood, 36 inches. And then we'll come down to here, another 24-inch, another 24 and a 27-inch. All right, that's what we have, 24. 27. We just finished going through these really quickly so you can see what we're doing. And then we have our fridge cabinet. Our upper fridge cabinet is a 36-inch cabinet. Put that in there. And then we have, again, our pantry cabinet, which isn't selecting for whatever reason, but we know that it's actually a 30-inch cabinet. So again, we have another inch to spare on the uppers. And what I would do is whatever you do for the lowers, do for the uppers. So if you decide to put a 1-inch filler strip in between these two cabinets, put it in between these two cabinets. That's how you would plan that. So I said you can make this fridge a little wider. You can't build the fridge wider, but you can make the area around the fridge a little wider. And I said like you can add a 1/2 inch to each side of this fridge. Well, if you did that, this upper cabinet wouldn't span from side to side. It wouldn't touch here and here. You actually make this cabinet an extra inch wider as well. So you have a couple options. And again, this is really just accounting for all of the dimensions of each of your walls to make sure you know what your wall measurements are and that the cabinets that you're picking in terms of their sizes will fit. And this is an additional exercise to picking out the layouts. So this is going to be your Bible, or at least your source of where you size the cabinets. So and come up with whatever name you want. You can, I'm calling these base cabinets, but you can call them cabinet 1, cabinet 2. A lot of builders will take cabinet builders, for instance, I'm switching to the 3D view here if I can get this thing to do it. Sometimes this thing gets stuck and you have to restart it. Let me do that real quick. All right, restarted it. This thing is very sensitive. So one method that some cabinet builders will use is something called a storyboard. So what we did was we measured this wall and this wall in our layout tool, and then picked the cabinets, yada, 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 right? And that's obviously important to figure out your spacing, your sizing. Cabinet builders will either do what we just did, or they'll do something called a storyboard, and that's where they will literally take a strip of hardwood, and they'll come to your house, and your cabinets will be removed, and they'll nail it to the wall temporarily, and it makes sure this board goes from end to end here, and they will mark off. They'll put lines on this board as they go down this wall, and between each line, they'll mark what one of these cabinets will be. So they'll mark, for instance, they'll measure out, I think we said this base cabinet here was 36 inches. So they'll measure 36 inches from here, they'll put a mark, and they'll write in here, this is the corner cabinet, and they'll measure from this first mark over to here, and they'll say, oh, this is this second cabinet and it's 30 inches wide. And then they'll put another mark in here and here, and that's where our oven's going. They'll put another mark here to here, and that's where another base cabinet, a fridge, so on and so forth. And they'll do that for each area where you have a wall. So for the bases, they can actually do one board for both the uppers and the lowers. So in this particular case, because our uppers almost matched our lowers identically, they could just write on the bottom half of the board what size and where these bottom cabinets are, and the same thing for the uppers. And they would take another board and do this wall. And then they can take that board back to their shop, and they don't have to go out and repeatedly measure. They can just reference the board, because the board is the kind of the source of information for the dimensions of the room. And so you have that option too. I always found this just a little more helpful, because you can kind of really see. You can move around the room. You can see, what kind of gap do I have? Is this a functional idea? And the storyboard is a more traditional way of doing that. But do whatever you want. But once you pick your cabinet sizes here, you're kind of stuck once you start building them, essentially. So you want to make sure you get this part right. And to just give an example of how this can go wrong, I actually, when I was building my cabinet, my cabinets back several years ago, I assumed the wrong fridge size. So I had a very similar layout to this wall. I had arranged cabinets, same kind of thing, long wall like this, and with a pantry cabinet. This pantry cabinet was supposed to be 21 inches or something, and I goofed on the measurement of the door of the refrigerator. I assumed I was going to be getting a 30-inch fridge, which was not right. I ended up buying a 33 or 34, 35, whatever it was. I ended up losing multiple inches, and I was, had already started to build this, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? These aren't going to fit. So I ended up taking this pantry cabinet and making it thinner. I ended up making a 12-inch pantry cabinet, which is, barely functional, all because I guessed this wrong. And I had locked in the location of the range, because there's a hole in the ceiling now, and the range was going to be installed there. So I couldn't just resize these en masse. I had to be very careful on which cabinet I resized, and I was really only left with resizing this one. So had I done the exercise you and I just did, and had known the appliance sizes, I wouldn't have made that mistake, and I would probably actually had made one of these cabinets in the middle here a little smaller, because they were 21. Making them an 19, 18-inch cabinet would have been fine. Would have been better than having a 12-inch pantry cabinet. But it is what it is. You learn from your mistakes. So at this point, you should be completed your layout. Get your spreadsheet filled out, and again, you can do this all on paper or on a storyboard if you want to. Because the next section, we are going to go back to looking at some cabinet construction methods and how to build them and all that stuff, more so than the basic. And I'll probably do a we'll be taking each of these cabinets and figuring out what we need for each of them. All right, and you're going to need to know why the dimensions are that they are beyond the standard heights, the widths and all that stuff. So you need to be ready to do that. All right.